So this video is going to be a little different. This is just me speaking off the cuff. Our dog recently passed away. We put him to sleep. Let me put that, just to be clear. If this is the first time you're clicking on my face, thank you so much for clicking and being here. My name is Lesline, and I am your favorite nurse yogi. I have been practicing as a registered nurse for the past 12 years, and I'm also a certified yoga instructor. I have been certified as a yoga instructor since 2020. At time of recording this video, it is February 19th, 2026. So I've been teaching yoga for 5 years, which is really wild to say. And I've been practicing yoga though personally since 2009. I started my first yoga class was a Bikram hot yoga class. Loved that. But now that you know a little bit of who I am, I just want to share about our dog recently passing. We decided to put him to sleep last Friday, which was Friday the 13th. Spooky, scary. They say ooh, bad things could happen. It's Friday the 13th. So as I'm looking up, because it's a calendar, and I'm already feeling myself getting a little emotional, we knew this was coming soon, but it's you're never really ready. You're not. And it's so interesting because this is the first week. So I work from home. This is my office, and you'll see actually also got so many different transitions have happened. That's something else. So I quit my previous corporate job that I had worked for 8 years, because I got a new corporate job, which I'm really excited about. And then my last day of that job was on the 12th, right? And then the 13th, and mind you though, all last week, our dog Maddox he's always been a sleepy kind of boy, and doesn't really do much, and but that last week, it was even the kids, they were towards the end, the last few days, the kids were especially my daughter, she's like, I think you need to bring him to the vet. And I made sure to be hey, just so you know, when we bring him to the vet, he most likely isn't going to come back. And me and my husband had a family dog when he was a kid, so he has more context of how Maddox was aging, if you will, right? I have no idea. We had 2 dogs, and so this is another side story, but me and my husband got our first dog together when we first moved in together. So that was 2012, 2013, 2014. Maybe it was 2014. We got our first dog together. We had that dog. That dog was a beagle mix, is a beagle mix. She's still kicking, lab and beagle. Super cute looking, super small. If you're somebody that's into small dogs, that's the perfect combo. And I got her because she was small, and I was the one that went to get her. We adopted her from the pound. And long story short, she ended up actually attacking my son, and that happened in the thick of the pandemic. She attacked my son, so we were yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go. So we gave her to my in-laws. So my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, they have her now. And it's so interesting because when that happened, and I will say this, because I never had a dog growing up, and I'm talking very pausey, but I'm not gonna apologize because, we're talking about grief, and then that was also something that we had to grieve, if you will, but it was weird because that grief feels different than this grief. Do you see what I'm saying? And let me just focus, but when Belle attacked our son, what happened was, kids do, and at that time my son was 3. He was 3 or 4. And he was always messing with her, and she would give signs. She'd be hair would raise. She would give signs. So for the first year or so, she was giving those signs. It was a long time coming. And then because we were all in the house during the pandemic, it's just like even more intensified because my kids have been in daycare since they were 6 weeks old. So like, she's used to them not being there for like the whole day. So now it's like, why y'all here all the time? And now you're touching me all the time. So like, I give Belle the benefit of the doubt with that, because I'll also say this too. It wasn't like out of nowhere. And I can only share with my person, because if you're watching this and maybe you have lost a dog, or maybe you're considering getting a dog, so that's why it came up on your timeline, and you're like, you have kids, or maybe you are pregnant and you're like, I don't, you have a dog that you've had and you're like, should I give my dog away because they tend to have aggressive tendencies? I'm not here to tell you what to do at all, but just for us, I think what I would have done, like hindsight is 2020, but even in this situation, I think I just would have separated her more. She just needed a lot of space. And I will also say this too, when I adopted her, because like I said, I adopted her from the pound, they told us, so I adopted her at 2.5 years old. They told us that she had actually been given back. They gave her back because it was a similar family dynamic. The people that adopted her, they adopted her because she's a small dog and she's not going to get any bigger or none of that. So they're like, we're going to adopt this. I can't assume what they thought, but they adopted a dog because they had little kids, and that's a perfect size dog for small kids. And then they said that that Belle got aggressive. And they're like, just so you know that, like, are you okay with that? Because like, I don't think they technically said you can't give the dog back, but they're like, we don't want to get fined. So we're just letting you know, like, it's on report what happened. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. Cause like, we're not having kids, like, la, la, la. And I wasn't somebody that was like, we're never having kids, but I was just like, we hadn't even gotten married yet, me and my husband. So I was just like, I just want something to do, like, something for me and my husband to have before we had kids. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. It's fine. So we had her by ourselves for like 2 to 3, maybe 4 years. It was just me, my husband, and Belle. And then we had our son, and then the pandemic happened and blah, blah, blah. So I would just say, if you already have a dog and you're pregnant and the dog has aggressive tendencies, like, I would keep the dog and the kid away from each other as much as you can. I know people are so attached to their dogs, but if you maybe consider, if you have a family member, in your life that you trust and that's nearby, maybe just for those first 6 weeks of, being a new mom with a newborn, have that family member that, loves dogs, maybe more than you, just watch the dog for that time. And put that disclaimer like, hey, you might have to keep this dog, put that there, because you don't want to like, be like, yeah, you just have to keep this for a short while. And then it's like a short while passes and the person's like, hey, like, can I give you your dog back? And you're like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with the dog being back in the home now that the kid is walking and all that stuff. So anyways, when we had to give the dog to our in-laws, it was like grief / anger / guilt, because I was the one that was awake when she attacked. Like, we were on the couch. Me and my husband were on the couch. My daughter, who was like not even 10 months old, was on the couch. And my son, though, he was like 2.5, 3, was on the floor. And she on him. And he has like a scar. You can barely see it now, but she was going for the eye. So that was a lot of emotion there. Now, fast forward, Maddox, when we put him down last Friday, he was 9 years old. This is an estimate. When we got Maddox, though, and this is what I will always say, and this is just my personal opinion, but say you don't have a dog, but you just you have a growing family and maybe your kids are asking for a dog, I will say get the dog from puppy. So Maddox, we got him at 6 weeks old. So he only knew us and we went. So funny story. I prefer big dogs. Like, once I got used to Belle, the Beagle Lab mix, I was like, okay, I like a bigger dog. I don't really like small dogs. No offense if you got one. I don't like them. And now I have more addition to why, because one of them attacked my son. Meanwhile, the bigger dog, Maddox, he was like, what are you doing? Right. And so I say that to say, once we decided that we wanted to get a second dog. Okay, let me put this here. We got a second dog because I had a miscarriage in 2016. So or 2017. We got married in 2016 and we're like, let's start trying to have kids. I had a miscarriage. I was super sad about it. And I was like, let's get a dog. Just get another dog since we didn't have a child. Let's replace that with a dog. And so that's when I was like, I want a cane corso. That's what I really wanted. And I had trouble finding them. So then I stumbled across a website with, I don't want to call it a breeder because I don't really agree with breeders. I feel like I'm not a super pet person. I don't want to say it's unethical, but I rather just adopt from the pound like we did with Belle. I don't want to say that because I don't want to offend people, but I just rather adopt a dog, or in this case, maybe they bred. I don't know. We went to some lady's house. She had a website. We went to some lady's house and she was like, on the website, she was like, I have a litter of, I forget what it was, but how she described the dogs, they were going to be big. And I was like, that's all I care about. If I can't get me a cane corso, I want a big dog. So me and my husband drove an hour away and we went in the house and anyways, that's a whole other story. The house was but it was a lot of pets, so but I'm like, if you have pets, you still should keep your house clean. Anyways, but the litter was in the back, in her backyard. So we came through the inside of her house and then she said, okay, they're all in the back. Pick from what you want. So I was just like, what is this? Because I didn't grow up with dogs, right? I am Jamaican. So when going to Jamaica, in the summer and stuff, the dogs are outside of the house, right? So this was very there were just 20 dogs, just right? And the littlest one, the runt of the litter, ran up to Jamie because I was just standing there. I was like, I don't know. But the littlest one ran up to Jamie, and that was Maddox. We got Maddox, we brought him home, and he got introduced to Belle, and him and Belle were, friends. But then, a few years later, we had to give Belle away. So it's just been us and Maddox. That's the timeline, right? And over the past maybe year, Maddox started to get lumps. At first, it was I don't know if one of the lumps he had, it was near where using the bathroom. So he had a lump there that opened. And so I don't know if that lump technically was a lump that was internal, that was cancer that kind of protruded through. I don't know, but it was concerning because it was near where he uses the bathroom. So that happened maybe a year ago. My husband brought him in and they removed that and we were good. But they were oh, he is getting more lumpy. I don't know what they fully said, because I will also say this too. I loved having Maddox. And I will say all this too. When that happened with Belle the small dog attacking our son, my parents and me, specifically my mom and me, were like, you need to get rid of that dog, the other dog, because who's to say that Maddox won't attack our kids. And Jamie was my husband, he was like, no, we need to keep Maddox. And I was like, okay, this is your dog. I was like, moving forward then, this is your dog, because if Maddox attacks my kid, we done. I don't, once you become a mom, y'all know it's I'm not messing. You've been warned. So it's your responsibility now. I got to focus on these kids. So that's how you're going to notice everything I say regarding Maddox is my husband's responsibility, because I said I didn't want him anymore after. I know he didn't attack, but I was just I just want to kind of do, is it damage control, if you will, of just I just want to remove all dogs from the home. But Jamie made a really good point. He was like, it's important that the kids have a pet in the home because it teaches them empathy, it teaches them responsibility. And yeah, he was right, because once we figured out with the lumps, and once the lumps came, Jamie was like, yeah, like we had a conversation and we're like, yeah, we ain't doing no chemo. We ain't doing any type of treatment for him. So yeah, he could have lasted maybe like three more years, if that. But in this house, we just don't agree to we just didn't want to do that. And to be real honest with y'all, like we don't have the money to allocate to that, right? And I feel like that would be selfish to keep him living when he was suffering, right? Especially towards the end, his breathing got very shallow, very rapid. His breath stank. And then he was having diarrhea. And like the nurse in me, I'm like, oh, this means it's the end. It's the end. He got super, super gray towards the end. And yeah, so the lumps just, he got really, really lumpy and he was overweight. I will say that. But the lumps, like, I think added to him looking fatter. And so on last Friday night, my husband comes in. I was like working or whatever. He's like, yeah, I don't think it's good, Leslie. And my husband it's so annoying with the communication. Like, we're both crap at communication. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I'm not the best at it. I'm gonna speak off the cuff. I have a script here, but we're 16 minutes in. I didn't realize, like, I'm not gonna say I'm slow, but I'd be slow. When he came in, I didn't know he was like, I didn't know what he really was asking was like, hey, should we put him down tonight? Because based on what I know about dogs, like, this is it for him, right? I didn't know he was saying that. He was like, hey, like, Maddox don't really look good. And mind you, this was Friday night. Saturday was Valentine's Day, and I had a self-love workshop with a friend of mine. And so I'm like thinking, if you're an entrepreneur, you're just thinking about like, okay, I got this event tomorrow. And then like this just comes and like, it was interesting because I was like, damn, do I cancel this event? But then I was like, it was a good distraction, right? So anyways, I'm thinking about just my event. And then I'm like, oh, you're saying that we got to put the dog down. And I was like, okay, well, I have my event tomorrow. And I was like, I don't want to like go to this event and then you call me or like he doesn't make it through the night. So, and again, this is the nurse in me. I was like, and it might be the Jamaican in me too. I was like, let's just put the dog down tonight. Let's just do it tonight, right? Wasn't even realizing it was Friday the 13th. I was like, let's just put him down. Like, let's get it done, rip the Band-Aid. And he's like, like he was I could tell he was just going through it. Like, and then he's like, okay. And then I was like, okay. He's like, I'm gonna get ready. Cause it was like 10 o'clock at night and we have a 24-hour vet around here. And I was like, okay, so do you want me to talk with the kids? And he was like, yeah, if you can, and I'll come in. I will say this wasn't news to the kids. Like I said, it's been a year coming. A few months ago, I think I was the one. We were all sitting at the dining room table because we try our best to have, at least once a week, everybody sit down, no devices, and we just sit, right, and eat, like just focus on that. And I think, and Maddox, he's always right there, beggy, right? And I was like, I'm so glad. I was like, because we have a high top. And I was like, I'm over this high top table. And I was like, oh, but I remember why I got it, because Maddox is a big dog. And just me in my home, I don't want my dog side by side with me as I'm eating. I think that's disgusting. So that's why I got a high top table. And I was like, man, I'm over this though. And then Jamie, my husband, was like, well, Leslie, like in a short while, like Maddox ain't gonna be here anymore. He's the one that said it. Cause I might be the one that is not as emotional front facing. So, but I can tend to be morbid. But he was the one that brought it up. And so I was like, oh, damn, you're right. And then I look at Maddox and I'm like, you ain't gonna be here long, are you? And so then my son is like, what? And mind you, we have been saying for the past year, like, hey, you guys ain't getting another dog. We're not doing it. We're not going to be one of those people that are replacing him. We're just not. Because based also too, like we've explained to kids, like we want to travel and we don't, it's an extra expense. Like if you don't have a dog already, like it is a good $1,000 to board your dog. And that's something else too. Some of the places that you can find like on websites, like dog websites, they cage dog. We don't cage either dogs. We never cage. Like we just let the dog run through, not run, but be throughout the house, because Maddox was very well potty trained. Towards the end, actually, Jamie made a funny joke. He's like, man, Max is like a camel. Like he will hold his pee. Like we can be gone for a full day, sun up till sundown. And then when he pees, like he like will be out there peeing for a solid like minute and a half. So anyway, so we were explaining that to the kids. So then that final conversation, not final, but that one is etched in my memory, where we're like, yeah, guys, like he's, you know, it's coming, his time here is coming to a close. And then we all started crying. Including my husband. And that just shows like the power of having dinner table, like being at the dinner table and eating. It's more than just eating. It's just creating those moments of bonding and connection. And, you know, Midas had no idea what was going on, right? But I remember we all cried, including my husband. And so that was a few months ago. So then fast forward to the night where we're like, okay, it's time. I'm like, okay, guys, remember what we've been talking about? Like, Daddy's going to bring him and he's most likely not coming back. And the look on my son's face, I was like, damn, I really should just get another dog. I should just get another dog. I said, no. Because part of being a parent is not backing down. And I know that's not, but I was like, no, I'm not getting another dog. But I told him that, and he was so, because it's so interesting too. That day, one of his favorite video games came out, and then so he like, when he got in the car that day and I picked him up, we didn't know at the time when I picked him up from school that we were going to put him down. So he's like, oh, I'm so excited. Like he comes in the car, he's like, I'm so excited to play my new game. Super excited, right? And then like 6 hours later, and it's just so interesting because that's saying once we put him down, we're all sad and we're all just sitting waiting. And I remember too, as we're waiting, my son, so Jamie takes Maddox, and then my son, Jamie had on his computer like the place that he had to go, like the address, and just making sure it's open. And so when Jamie was gone driving, my son is like, Mommy, like, how long is it gonna take for Daddy and Maddox to get to the vet? And I was like, he's already there and they're about to do it. Again, the look on my son's face, oh my God. He was just like, oh. And so me and the kids, I was like, just let's be close. And yeah, it was sad. More so for my son. My daughter, so I have two kids. I have my son and my daughter. They're 18 months apart. And my son is 7. My daughter is 6. My daughter, she's not as, like, it's so interesting. Never put your kids as the same. My kids are two separate people, even though they look similar, but they're looking more and more not like each other. But when they were babies, people were like, are they twins? But my son, devastated. My daughter, and I thought she would be devastated too, but she's like, okay, sounds really, so on Saturday, after I came back from the event, I'm like, I have to distract them as much as I can. Not distract, but, because I will say this too, me and my husband try our best to normalize death. I feel like you need to normalize death because it's a part of life. Like, you are born, you live a full life, and you die, right? It's a part of life. I don't think we need to hide that, because with this happening, you're able to experience emotions. And I feel like when we like, don't talk about death, you are stunting your growth as a human being. You're stunting your emotional capacity. You're stunting becoming emotionally intelligent. And when my husband, so when we decided to do that, let's come back before my husband brought him. I've never seen my husband cry. Like, I had to hold him and he was crying. And I remember my daughter, because my son, he was devastated, but my daughter was looking, I caught that. My daughter was looking at my husband cry. And I was like, this sounds weird how I'm going to say this, but I was like, let me not say it like that. I felt like that was so important for my daughter to see him cry. And I felt like it was also even more important for my son to see my husband cry, right? Because I feel like, and I was guilty of that too this weekend. I was a little insensitive and I was like, oh shit, like I was making fun, and this is so just a real video, y'all, but I forgot what I said. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I said it like that. I'm glad that you did cry this week. Cause I was making fun of it. And I was like, why am I saying that's fucked up? Like, and I was like, shit, I'm a part of the problem. We want these emotionally intelligent men. Mind you, I'm the one making fun of my own husband. So I was like, I am so sorry I said that. Please continue to be emotionally intelligent. It is so important, right? And yeah, so this video is, I'm not going to say it's all over the place, but I felt like because I'm doing my 100 days of YouTube, if you don't know already, make sure you are, like and subscribe. Liking just shows me you're sending me and my family love at this time. But I was like, I have to put this here because there was a video I did a couple days ago where I was talking about like corporate job stuff. And I was like, yeah, if you have a death or something happens, you should, and I was talking about my dog, but I didn't say that. And then I was like, then these past few days, I was like, I need to bring that up because even today, as I do this new job, because it's a work from home job, people have pets and things like that. And people are like, oh, look at my pet, look at my pet. And I've never been somebody, I will say this too, it's been a joke too. People be like, damn, I always because I also create content, right? People are like, damn, I always hear that dog, but I never see him because I'm not really like showy with him. And, but then working this new job, I'm like, damn, I miss my dog. I miss him. And I didn't know I was gonna cry. Oh fuck. Sorry. Shit. Because it's so quiet. And you don't realize, for example, the trash people come, the lawn people came a couple days ago, and I'm tensing myself because I'm about to be like, Maddox, go, I always will put him away, and walking up the stairs, he's not here. Oh, shit. Oh, okay. It's okay. Oh, my God. Oh, it's okay. As my husband texts me. Okay. Anyways, guys. Yeah, and it's also so interesting. I'm going to wrap this video up. Not because I'm crying, because I'm trying my best to do 30-minute videos. But, I remember being a kid, and I wanted a dog. And my parents, they're like, no dog, And, oh my gosh. See, this is why I have to create videos because I haven't processed and I have to process. I haven't processed at all. Everybody else cried and I didn't really cry till now. And I remember I wanted a dog and, my parents said no. And I remember I used to draw dogs, as a kid. And I remember I drew a dog and I would draw him I'll say it was on grass or on stairs. And I don't want to say I manifested Maddox, but whenever I would come up the stairs, he always would sit on the stairs, on the top of the stairs. And that it's a dog, it's a fucking dog. That same picture that I drew as a kid was the same way he would look when I'd come up the stairs. He would just sit there. He was a really sweet dog. He was so loving. And he knew, with the kids, he never was aggressive to them. Oh, man. Such a good guy. He was a good guy. I'm really going to miss you, Maddox. And yesterday, one last thing. My daughter runs in my office Mommy, there's a bee. And I was like, in my room, there's a bee. And I'm like, and my husband wasn't home yet. And I was like, God, I killed this freaking bee. I go in the room, and on their globe, they have a world globe. It wasn't a bee, it was a ladybug. And my yogi self was like, what does this mean? Is that Maddox? And they said it's probably Maddox. But I smushed it. Don't judge me, y'all. I smushed it because I was like, I had to come back. But I was like, oh my God, was that a reminder? Like that he's still here with us? Yeah. Creating these videos, it's really for me to process. It's for me to process because I didn't fully express, and so crying has helped. Cause I was like, damn, am I insensitive? Am I like, oh, I didn't, that was what it was. My daughter last thing for real, but I was like, when I came home that Saturday, so the day after, I took him to the park, and then we went to the library, and my son was sad and he had his head down, and my daughter looks at me and she was like, Mommy, like, why is Lennox so sad? Like, Maddox wasn't a human. And I was like, you're correct. You are 100% correct, but he still, like, it's an animal that we, pets are a part of our family. And I was like, two things are true, right? And so I just found that so interesting because I felt like she was more connected, in my opinion, just on the outside, because she would be like in the bed with Maddox. She'd be like all of it rubbing him, and I didn't really see my son do that as much, but it seemed like it was more of a loss for my son. But who's to say it was probably just as much of a loss for my daughter as well. But now that my makeup is ruined, do you guys see, is it ruined? Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you subscribe. Tomorrow's video won't be like this, but I'll see you in the next one. Bye.